So the first one, I'll talk about my first underground New York City game. I remember I must have been 19, maybe, I think. 19, I remember, in Midtown New York City, one of these games, I get up there, I was so nervous. It's actually the first time I ever sat down at a poker table, not like a home game, but like a poker table in some public environment. And I sat down, I remember sitting down, I remember you go in, you show them ID, and they print out these cards for you, and there's security cameras everywhere, there's 3 or 4 tables, a couple of people playing. It's very kind of sketchy but legit in the same way. So I had no idea what to do. I had no idea where to get the money or whatever. So I just watch people and follow. Okay, you give them cash and you wait, you sit down. So I remember sitting down at a table, and New York City. I don't know about to this day, but back then and for a long time, it's just filled with very, very aggressive players. Not good aggressive, bad aggressive players. Just players with super wide ranges, and they just throw chips, and really have no concept of the game. But at that point, I really had no concept either. So I remember my first hand, I remember sitting at the table, and I remember my legs literally shaking. My legs were trembling. That's how anxious and nervous I was. And I remember being dealt ace-king suited in middle position, and I raised and get called by a guy in the big blind. I get called by a guy on the button, and he's this very aggressive opponent with a lot of chips, probably like $1,000 in chips, which was a ton of money back then. And I bought in for maybe 200 or 180 or something like that. I didn't know to extract maximum value back then. But anyways, I remember flopping. The board came 10, 10, 10, 10. So 3 tens. I flop quads, right? And he leads out, I immediately go all in. I was just so anxious. I wanted that pot so much. I just immediately shove. And he sits there for 60 seconds and contemplates and just sits there and just what do you have? Da, 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 And it's interesting because it's one of the things that it kept happening. One of the things when I'd flop the nuts or I'd get a really good hand, I'd get so excited that instead of stopping, breathing, and taking a couple seconds to think of which the best way to extract value was, I would just shove chips in the middle. And I sometimes see players do that. It was very interesting. I remember winning. I think I won $60 or $50 or whatever it was, and I was up $50, and I was so happy. It was a cool moment. It was definitely a cool moment. It was the first time. It was very nerve-wracking. So if you've been on a first table, casino table for the first time, and you get anxious, it simply goes away the more you play. The more you play, the less anxiety you display. This is my first poker kind of hand I guess I won in a real environment. The second story is cool. The second story. 3 years ago when I started School of Cards, or maybe 3.5 years ago when I started School of Cards, it was the night before my first profitable class. And at that time I was playing really high stakes. I was playing a ton of poker, and I was just about to start teaching it. So I was at a convention, a t-shirt convention at the Tropicana. I owned a t-shirt company and was investing in some t-shirt companies at that time. So I was at this big t-shirt festival or convention or wherever the hell you want to call it. And I was staying at the Tropicana. And I had no intent of playing poker, and I was really tired. So I just go downstairs, and I go upstairs to sleep, and I couldn't sleep. So I was like, all right, let me play 1-2, because I haven't played 1-2 in so long, and I want to see what it's like. So I'm playing 1-2, and there's a guy next to me, really fun. We're joking around, we're laughing. He's a good guy. And we get into a situation where basically, all 5 cards are out, and he's like, what do you got? And I show him ace jack, for I don't know, I think I made an ace on the river. I don't know, I don't remember what the hand was. I show him ace jack, and he's like, you got me. And I show him ace jack, and then I muck my cards. I throw my cards face down in the muck. And he has his cards up, and the dealer is like, sir, you just mucked your cards. You mucked your cards. So I'm like, fuck. And everybody at the table is giving me lessons then. It's embarrassing because I'm about to teach it. Everybody at the table is giving me lessons like, son, you can't do that. You have to always show your cards. You can't. And I'm like, yes, I know. Trust me, guys. I know. And I can't believe I did that. It was just I don't know why I did it. But anyways, so I muck him. So the dealer pushes the chips to the guy to my right. And the guy to my right was like, yo, I saw your cards. Because I showed him the cards. And he pushes the stack to me. And at that time, that was like, what? Did you just really just give me $150 or $160 like that? And it was such a weird moment for me, because as a professional, it's something you do not do. If a player screws up and does something like that, you're capitalizing on their mistakes. And this guy just gave it to me. So after that point, I made a promise that if anyone ever does that same scenario to me, no matter how much money, no matter what stakes, that I would return the favor. So kind of like a karma thing. So it's just I guess a good example of me, I guess, relatively, me screwing up essentially. The third story. I have so many, there's so many poker stories I'll tell you a story. So when I was playing high stakes with a bunch of people in New York, we used to have this cool game where at the end of the night, everybody used to play stupid prop bets and stuff like that. So one of the games they did is everybody took a bunch of chips and they threw it into this tin steel can and they shook it up and they slammed it on the table. And then you'd take it off and then everybody would have to guess how much chips were in there. What was the chip value? And everybody threw in $100. So it'd be for $1,000 or for whoever won $900. So what I did was I was like, okay, I can break this. So I did is I went home and I practiced this for 2 weeks straight. I took a bunch of chips, boom, count them. And basically how I did it was you always count the biggest chips first and you count them in groups. So I'd see 600, I'd be 600, and you just get good at it, get it. So we kept doing it. I must have made a little bit over 10K doing this little stupid thing that they did. So it's no one else cared, but I went home and practiced and found a flaw. And so they wouldn't play with me anymore because I was just so good. I was like, 3,600, and it would be 3,650. And that was one of the ways I got really good at counting pots because I was always practicing that just to win this little side bet thing. So just cool poker stories. I mean, I'll tell more. Those are the ones that I find interesting relatively. All right, guys, have a good one.